We now know every single opponent for the Texas A&M Aggies through 2029.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are Locked On the Texas A&M Aggies. I am your host, Matt Galatzan, publisher of Texas A&M Aggies on SI. Thank you for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Harrison, it is game week. A&M has a massive, massive game with Auburn this weekend, but we had some big news come out right in the middle of college football season that has nothing to do with this football season, which always drives me crazy. But it's worth talking about because we now know Texas A&M's entire schedule, at least in terms of who they're going to play through the 2029 season. On Monday, we talked about the permanent rivals. And, you know, we knew that this was coming out. One thing that I have decided after seeing this is that everybody's going to have a really hard time in the SEC going forward.
Yeah, I haven't took a peek at everyone's schedule. I've seen bits and pieces here and there. Obviously, with the teams that I look at pretty regularly, you see a lot of overlap in between that. For me, Matt, I think that was something I've noticed is like, man, they really didn't try and make this so like one school has a more favorable schedule than everybody else. It seems like everyone across the board is going to be in some big time football games, having some nail biters. I'm looking at the A&M schedule right now for 26. You got to go on the road to Alabama, South Carolina, LSU, Missouri, Oklahoma. Compare that to your home schedule. You get Texas, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Tennessee at home. Like, whoo, you got some heaters, Matt. You got some absolute heaters. And for me, Matt, the thing I was looking for, which I'm kind of surprised. I'm surprised with how they laid this out because I guess for 2026, they're considering it starting over in terms of like, hey, starting in 2026, you're going to play every team in 4 years. But I'm looking at it, and I know some other cases. I'm like, man, they're going to have to play. You know, in Georgia's case, Georgia has to play Alabama 3 years in a row. I'm like, I didn't think they were going to be playing them until 27. I know A&M has South Carolina on the schedule for the third year in a row, and I'm like, man, I was thinking 26 would be basically you'd play everybody that you didn't play last year, and then you'd sprinkle in your annual opponents. But for me, Matt, the matchup I'm most excited about from this perspective, and I think Aggie fans can all agree with this, you finally get Georgia in Kyle Field in 2027. I thought that matchup was going to come this year or in 26, Matt. But, I mean, hey, I guess 2027, 2026, what's the difference? It's not this year. We won't talk about it till then. But you finally get it 15 years after you join the conference.
Yeah, that was the first one that really popped up to me as well. Outside of the absolute gauntlet that you have on the road in 2026 with Alabama, LSU, Missouri, Oklahoma, South Carolina, that is incredibly brutal, Harrison. You also, you talk about having Texas and Tennessee at home, Arkansas at home, Kentucky at home. You also have to keep in mind they also have Arizona State at home in 2026, assuming that game ends up going through. So that's a team that could win the Big 12 this year. They could be facing a conference champion in the non-con.
I assume that game will go through, Matt, because I pulled up their out-of-conference slate for the next few years, and with this new 9-game format in the SEC, you are supposed to play at least one team from the Big 12, ACC, Big 10, or Notre Dame. One high-quality non-conference opponent. So, and looking at their schedule, they have Missouri State and Tarleton State as the other two matchups. I assume that Arizona State game sticks, but yeah, like you said, you're getting some really good home games that year. Tennessee at Texas A&M is going to be cinema. And then in 2028, when Texas A&M goes to Tennessee, it's going to be cinema again. Like, that's a matchup we haven't gotten real often in the SEC. two really passionate fan bases, two of the hardest places to play in the Southeast, maybe across college football. You're going to see that matchup twice in the next 3 years. I'm excited for that, Matt. But I mean, I look at the away schedule and I'm like, man, they really didn't make it easy. Like, your easiest game on the road is a rivalry game versus Missouri.
Yeah. I mean, let's see how Oklahoma is next year before we make that assumption, probably. But you may be right.
And maybe it's South Carolina, depending on what Lenore Sellers does. Maybe it's South Carolina. Who knows? But your two easiest right now look to be Missouri or South Carolina.
Yeah, the fact that you even have to have that discussion kind of indicates how difficult it could be. And regardless, you have to go to Alabama and to LSU, two of the three toughest places to play in the SEC outside of Kyle Field. You could throw Georgia into that mix as well. But that's absolutely brutal. You go to 2027, you get Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss all at home, Missouri at home. The road schedule isn't terrible. Auburn could be tough. Florida seems like they're trending down right now. Mississippi State is Mississippi State, although they look pretty good this year. And then you got your annual matchup with Texas. Then 2028 and 2029 are pretty interesting as well. You get Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas, and South Carolina at home. Your road games are Arkansas, Kentucky, LSU, Missouri, and Tennessee. Not too shabby. You hate to have to go to LSU whenever, but they're one of your permanent rivals, so you're gonna have to deal with it. Another home game for Texas A&M in 2028, the Louisville Cardinals. So that's another that's an ACC opponent that could be a difficult out. We'll see how
is
they
that
do
the
going
greatest.
forward.
Is that the greatest home schedule A&M's ever had potentially that year, depending on how things look out in terms of name branding of these teams they get at home? Is that? I mean, that has to be up there.
It could be. I would argue that. Well, yeah, it could be. It really could be, because I would say that Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, but without Texas in there, it just doesn't feel quite as sexy. So yeah, I mean, that might be one of the best that we've seen. And then 2029, you go on the road to Louisville. You also have Georgia, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, Texas on the road. That's going to be brutal with Georgia and Texas both on the road.
And then the home games are just
and the home games are like, we don't know what to expect out of Auburn and Florida and Mississippi State by 2029. Certainly Missouri by 2029. LSU, you figure, will be around and be very good. So just super interesting to look at. I don't want to say A&M got shafted in terms of the scheduling, because I feel like everybody is going to be having a really tough time because everybody has to play everybody. And there's no more occasions of
an SEC East being so weak compared to the West,
or like what Texas has had to face the last couple of years, where their SEC games are, Kentucky, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Florida, with that Florida's just been bad. So and Oklahoma was bad last year. So Texas has got, that's not happening anymore. And this also strengthens the conversation for the SEC in terms of the college football playoff, because with this format, it really does feel like every team in the SEC is going to be ranked 1 through 16 in terms of strength of schedule across college football. The Big Ten can't touch this. The ACC can't touch this. And, like, for example, Texas has a really difficult conference schedule next year. They also have to play Ohio State. Everybody is going to be scheduling these tough games in the non-conference now in the SEC. Everybody is going to have really difficult conference schedules. So it's just going to make I feel like it's going to make the SEC's stranglehold on the college football playoff even tighter.
Yeah, and I know you're going to want to move on to the next segment because we're already hitting 10 minutes. So I'll be quick. But it really, that was the big thing yesterday. That was the thing that I was talking about when I was watching the schedule review. It's the Big Ten could never. I mean, 1 through 16, I think the SEC, without a debate, there shouldn't be a debate. 1 through 16 is the best top to bottom conference in college football. I mean, because when you look at these conference schedules, it looks like an NFL schedule. There really is no, hey, this is really easy. This is really easy. This is really easy. I mean, we're in a world of college football right now, Matt, where I can't turn on an SEC football game and say, oh, yeah, Vandy's going to go get waxed. Like, I can't do that anymore. I can't even say, like, the bottom dwellers, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, heck, even South Carolina, although they weren't really that far to the bottom. All these teams have we're talking about, there are people talking about Vandy having a chance at competing for an SEC championship just because of how strong they've gotten off. And I know it's a hot take, but you look at the schedule, and it really does look like you see the parity in the sport from transfer portal, from the NIL. It's there. It's starting to get there. And I look at these schedules and I'm like, man, you're getting game after game after game after game. I feel bad for the coaches. Yes, they're getting paid $10 million to win these games, but there's really not a week off anymore.
Yeah, I mean, even Kentucky, if you look at Kentucky, they almost beat Ole Miss, who looks like a really good football team. They have a legitimate shot this weekend to beat South Carolina. They could beat Auburn, Florida. They could beat Vanderbilt. They could beat Louisville, who's obviously not SEC. But you're right. Everybody in the SEC is good, and it's going to be a hell of a next 4 years before we get to 2030, and before maybe at that point, perhaps you see some college football expansion. But
hopefully not.
Let's move on to hopefully not. I don't want to see anybody from the ACC come to the SEC, but we'll see. But let's move on to our next segment. We are going to talk about the upcoming weekend's matchup against Auburn and some things about Auburn that might concern us for Texas A&M in this matchup. So stick with us after this break, and we'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Today's episode is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Maximizing investments, increasing your savings rate, easily reviewing finances with your partner and or financial advisor, keeping a clear view of your financial health week to week in the long term, etc. Don't let the financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. Let's get into it, Harrison. It's game week. The Aggies are back off their bye week. We have Texas A&M and Auburn this weekend. Number 9, Texas A&M is favored by 6.5 over an unranked Auburn team in College Station. I feel like that's a tricky 6.5. We'll get to our picks in the third segment, but there are some legitimate things, and I talk about this with our other Locked On host for Auburn, Zach Blackerby, in a show that's going to go live tomorrow. So make sure you check that out. There are some things that A&M really has to be concerned about in this football game, Harrison. And I think it starts with Jackson Arnold and his legs.
Yeah, we've talked about it before in this show. When you have a quarterback that can run the ball, it just makes the defense's job even harder because that's an extra hat in the box that usually you can't account for. In today's world of college football, most defenses are having to play at a -1 disadvantage in the box or trying to be even. And if you're going even versus a heavy box, a 7-man box, including the quarterback, defense is going to have to try and match that. Which if you want to match it even for even, that's 7 defenders in the box, and that's 7 less people you got on the outside trying to defend the pass. That's where this game starts for A&M. Same thing can be said about Auburn's defense and trying to defend Marcel Reed. The more you have to put in the box, the less you have to dedicate on the outside. It makes both these receiving cores extremely, extremely hard to deal with. But yeah, I like what you said. We saw Arnold in the first few games of this year really make a difference with his legs. I saw some people talking about, and it's facetiously, but he was running around like he was Cam Newton or something like that, is what people were saying. He's not Cam Newton. He's not that athlete. He's not going to put the team on his back. We saw that last week. He cannot overcome 9 sacks. I don't know who could, but the thing about Arnold is he has confidence, and that was something he didn't have at Oklahoma. He has weapons, something he also didn't have at Oklahoma. His offensive line gave up 9 sacks, but I think they're better than what he had at Oklahoma. Like, there's a lot of things going in his direction that could make for a tough game. But, Matt, the biggest thing for me here, whatever advantage Arnold gives them with his legs and whatever confidence he has, I think A&M matches it, negates it with having home field advantage here, because he didn't look particularly all too comfortable on the road at Norman.
Yeah, he was holding on to the ball a lot, and that resulted in a few of those sacks, I think, for Auburn. That wasn't all of them, though. Auburn's offensive line did get cooked a little bit as well, so you got to give Oklahoma's defense credit there too. But anytime you have a mobile quarterback, it's going to be an issue. That's been an issue for Texas A&M in the past over the last couple of years. You saw what Lenore Sellers did last year with South Carolina, and on it goes. Even Arch Manning got a rushing touchdown against Texas A&M in a kind of a boutique package that they used for him last year. So they've struggled with mobile quarterbacks. And here's the other thing, Harrison: the pass defense hasn't exactly been there as well for A&M, and it kind of seems, at least from my point of view, like Cam Coleman might be Superman, and he is going to be a problem.
Yeah, I think we talked about it on Monday. There is no taking Cam Coleman out of this game without him getting, unless he gets hurt. You're really not going to be able to stop this guy. This guy's going to get his touches. This guy's going to make the plays. It's just whether or not you can keep the lid on him a little bit in terms of, can you play from deep to short and not let them get those explosives? Because we saw when Auburn decided they wanted to say, hey, screw it, Cam Coleman's down there somewhere, they were successful. They could have been even more successful if it wasn't for a no-call DPI. But, Cam Coleman's going to be a problem. Don't forget, Eric Singleton is a dude. I watched that guy for the last 2 years. That guy is a problem, especially when he's paired with the Cam Coleman on the outside opposite of him. Don't be surprised, Aggie fans, if Eric Singleton, the kid from Georgia Tech, comes into this football game and has a really good game, because naturally you're going to want to dictate your coverage toward Cam Coleman. But I'm with you, Matt. I'm a little nervous on the back end with Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton. But the one X factor in all of this is, what does Auburn's defensive front do? How does Cassius Howell produce against this Auburn offensive line that was given much more than what they could handle with an Oklahoma defensive line that has, I think, 3 or 4 draftable defensive linemen playing for them this year?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, another thing to note, Jeremiah Cobb has emerged as a really good running back for Auburn. He has 52 carries for 375 yards and 4 scores. He's averaging 7 yards per carry in this season. And he's really come along the last few weeks as well. He only had 6 carries against Oklahoma for 61 yards, but he went over 100 against Ball State, 11 carries for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. And South Alabama, 19 for 119 yards and a touchdown. So he's coming along. And A&M has had their issues stopping the run this season. So that's also something to look at. All right. Let's move on to our last segment. We're going to make our picks for the weekend when we come back, including the Texas A&M Auburn game. We're going to make our score predictions for that one. And we're going to pick a few of the other top games in college football. So stick with us after this break, and we will be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, Harrison, it is pick time. Let's review last week because we both actually did fairly well. This is our best week collectively so far this year, which we're very proud of. Last week, we picked Auburn and Oklahoma at -6.5. We both barely got that one thanks to a safety. We picked Ole Miss Tulane at -10.5. If I remember correctly, and let me make sure I didn't get. Yep, we both picked Ole Miss there, and they absolutely drubbed Tulane at home. We picked Utah, Texas Tech. I went with Utah and got smoked. You went with Texas Tech and got that one. We went with Michigan and Nebraska. We both picked Nebraska. Both lost there. But then we rebounded in a big way with Miami and Florida at -7.5. Miami covered that one fairly easily there in the fourth quarter. And then I came back to tie you up on our bonus pick because I was forced to pick Texas -40.5 against Sam Houston State, and I got it. That's the first time.
Of course, they have your back right there. Of course, they have your back.
That's the first time I've picked Texas against the spread this year and been successful. So thank you to the Longhorns for that one. But we were both 4-2 over the weekend, which moves us both over 500, I think. It moves me to 11. Actually, I'm at 500 at 11-11. And you are at 10-12. So you're right below 500. I am right at 500. But that's okay. That's okay. We are making our way back, and that is the important thing. After
the hot streak starts now.
After our disastrous start to the year, where we were both 1-4. That really
week one was criminal.
Yeah, that we were bad that week. But now we're going to pick 5 games this week, and hopefully we don't all pick the same. But I think we'll probably pick the same here on a couple. We're going to start with TCU and Arizona State. This game is on Friday night. Number 20 TCU on the road against Arizona State, whose lone loss on the season is to Mississippi State on a last-second touchdown. Josh Hoover looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Raleek Brown for Arizona State has been good. Jordan Tyson is an absolute animal. I'm going to pick Arizona State here. I think that they're due for one. I think TCU is due to falter, and I'm going to pick the Sun Devils.
I want to lean toward
Arizona -3.5, by the way. -3.5.
I want to lean. So I mean, essentially, that tells us probably on a neutral field, TCU's maybe a 1/2 point favorite, a 1.5 point favorite, maybe. If that's how this works, I'm going to take Josh Hoover here. Like you said, he's looked to be a really good quarterback in college football so far. Was really impressive versus UNC for whatever that says. I'm going to take TCU to cover at 3.5. Maybe not outright, but I lean toward Arizona State winning this game, but I think TCU covers.
Okay. Moving on, we are going to LSU. This game is in Oxford at 2:30. Lane Kiffin is complaining once again about not having a night game at home. Ole Miss is favored by 1.5. Number 13 Rebels against the undefeated and number 4 LSU Tigers. Ole Miss is starting Trinidad Chambliss for the 3rd week in a row. Their offense has been humming with Chambliss at the helm. Granted, it was against Arkansas and Tulane, so we'll see what he looks like against what looks to be one of the best defenses in the country in LSU. I'm a Rebel at heart. I'm picking the Rebels.
You love trying to get me to just like either fall on board to the trap of taking Ole Miss to win one of these like really good football games, or to pick against them and really hate them. If this was in Baton Rouge, I'm taking LSU all day. Not even thinking twice about it. Ole Miss doesn't really travel well, hasn't over the last few years, but I still can't do it. I think the concerns about the LSU offense are overblown. I think it's more so they're doing what they have to do to win. And I don't know if they're going to look all that great this weekend defensively versus an Ole Miss team that's going to give them troubles, whether or not Trinidad Chambliss is exceptional or not. I'm taking LSU outright in this game. I'm going to take them plus 1.5. I think they're one of the best teams in the SEC. I think Garrett Nussmeier is the best quarterback in college football right now. He's playing like it through the first few weeks of the year. I'm taking LSU on the road. Brian Kelly with that Southern fake accent is going to get a marquee win, another marquee win, I should say, to start this year.
All right, all right. It should be noted that if this game was at LSU, also it would almost assuredly be at night if you ask Lane Kiffin, which he's probably right about. But
well, and you gotta forget his daughter's dating Whit Weeks, so like, which makes me think Lane's probably hitting the over in this game. But I'm taking LSU. Whit Weeks is gonna be locked in. Can't lose to his girlfriend's dad.
Lane Kiffin can't get shown up by his daughter's boyfriend either. So
yeah.
That'll be something to watch. What a week for them to hard launch. Unbelievable. All right, let's move on to Oregon and Penn State. Oregon has one of the best teams in the country thus far. They travel across the country to Penn State in Happy Valley. I'm sure you will hear a lot of Mo Bamba. I'm not sure if it's a whiteout or not. We'll have to see.
I believe it is.
If it is, then that could be a problem because that place goes crazy during a whiteout. I have a really hard time with this one because I think Oregon is they might be the best overall team in the country so far this year, just in terms of what they've put on the field so far. Dante Moore has been incredible. I think Penn State wins, but I'm taking Oregon at plus 3.5.
Look, I think I'm going to regret this. Maybe I do. I'm just not buying James Franklin and Penn State right now until I see it. So I would rather be wrong because they prove me wrong than be wrong because I took Penn State and they didn't do anything to deserve it. Give me Oregon, not just to cover, Matt. Give me Oregon outright. Give me Dan Lanning listening to Mo Bamba all week, says he hates that song. He's going to go in there and, I guess, die down the hype for Penn State and James Franklin. People call James Franklin the Mark Richt of the Northeast. I like Mark Richt. No shot against him. But, yeah, James Franklin, you have to win these big-time football games. The whiteout's certainly going to help you, but I really like where Dan Lanning's at, and I really don't want to bet against that man.
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame you. Last year, Oregon faced Penn State in the Big Ten championship and beat them. That has no bearing on this because there is no Dylan Gabriel in this football game and no Abdul Carter in this football game. But nevertheless,
it's a young Oregon team, which makes it hairy.
It's a young team. It is, but I really like Dante Moore. I think he's been incredible so far this year. So we're both going to Oregon there. One more before we pick Texas A&M and Auburn. Number 17 Alabama, who I was way out on after week one, has played much better the last 2 weeks. They travel to Athens to take on the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia is favored minus 3.5. Ty Simpson has been unbelievable the last couple of weeks since that opening loss. He has 9 touchdowns. He has no interceptions. In the month of September so far, his pass, he had 5 incompletions against Wisconsin. He was a perfect 7% against ULM, which, I mean, that's hard to do against air, let's be honest. Also, I think Georgia has a little bit of a Alabama has a little bit of a mental edge over Georgia right now. I don't know what I look and see what the series is in terms of who's on a streak or whatever. I know Alabama has
1-9 of their last 10.
Okay. When was that loss?
The last time the last time Georgia beat him was in the national championship game in Indianapolis, which was, I guess,
what year was that?
21.
Okay. So, yeah. Alabama owns Georgia right now. Granted, Nick Saban's not here, but I think that's I can't if you're 1-9 against a team over your last 10 meetings, I can't in good faith pick you to break that streak I'm taking the Crimson Tide to cover plus 3.5.
This one's really hard because, like Matt said, Georgia has an Alabama problem. They play differently every time they play them. They played Texas on the road last year, played Georgia style of football. They played Texas in the Bends. They played their style of football. But once that Crimson A shows up, they play a completely different way. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't know why. And like Matt said, with the way this series has gone, even with Georgia haven't seen Georgia lost in Sanford Stadium since 2019 when, shocker, Will Muschamp was the head coach of South Carolina that was the last one to pull the upset on Georgia in their building. I'm taking Alabama to cover here. I like them at plus 3.5. I think Alabama needs this more than Georgia, considering they just lost to FSU in the season one or in the week one opener. I think Alabama needs this more. And I'm a little concerned about Georgia's pass rush. I'm a little concerned about their secondary. Kirby Smart said Ty Simpson was the hottest quarterback in college football right now. He's certainly been playing like it. Give me Alabama to cover plus 3.5. I won't take them outright, but give me the plus 3.5 point spread. I like that. Matt, just a quick note. 4 of Georgia's last 6 SEC games have been in overtime. So if you're looking at a potential over, maybe you can, get some liquid courage and bet the over on 52.5.
Yeah, Georgia's offense looked the lead against Tennessee. Their defense did not look like a Georgia defense, so that's a good shout there. It could be very high scoring, just like last year, honestly. So we'll see how that goes. All right, we're running a little bit over, but we are going to get to Texas A&M and Auburn. A&M is favored minus 6.5 at home against the Tigers. Last year, Auburn jumped on them early, and Texas A&M couldn't quite catch up. The defense couldn't hold. Jackson Arnold's legs are going to be a problem. Cam Coleman's going to be a problem. I'm picking Auburn to cover. I think Texas A&M wins the football game, but I'm taking Auburn at plus 6.5 to cover.
I'll take A&M here minus with the spread minus 6.5. I think A&M wins this game by 10 points. I think it's a 2-score game. I think in the second half, you see Marcel Reed come out and assert himself. I think Auburn's defense is good, but I think with Mario Craver, with Kevin Concepcion, with Le'Veon Moss, Ruben Owens, I really like the weapons for A&M. And again, this is another one where I'm like, man, I kind of like the over here. I'm going to take A&M with home field advantage against an Auburn team. Yeah, sure, they're going to be pissed off. But I think A&M is just a better football team right now. A&M minus 6.5.
I do as well. I think it's going to be very high scoring. I think A&M wins 38-34 or something like that. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a real fun one. All right. So just to recap quickly, Harrison is taking TCU plus 3.5 over Arizona State. I'm taking the Sun Devils. Ole Miss and LSU. I am taking Ole Miss minus 1.5. Harrison is taking the Tigers at plus 1.5. We are both picking Oregon plus 3.5 over Penn State. We are both picking Alabama plus 3.5 over Georgia. And I am taking Auburn plus 6.5 against Texas A&M with A&M winning. And Harrison is taking A&M minus 6.5. So we will see what happens this week. We are separated by 1 game in the standings right now, so it's coming down to the wire. But that's going to do it for another episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you so much for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. But hey, it's another big moment for Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake 12, Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside 2-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. It's a college football preview that only Locked On could do, or a college football preview that only Locked On could do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, like our podcast, subscribe to our podcast, give us all the downloads. Give me a follow over on Texas A&M Aggies on SI and on X at Matt Galatzan. Follow Harrison on X at Harrison Reno, and we will see you next time.
Hot streak starts now, Matt.
The hot streak starts now, Harrison, and it's going to start with my Rebels.